Starting with the Phillip Schofield interview in The Sun. We're going to play a little bit of that in a moment. He's also given an interview to the BBC in which he looks incredibly under the weather. Lots of people have commented on that. He also talks about how badly he feels, about how he's lost everything. It's a sort of self-pity fest, you might say. But let's have a look at what he did say in one of these interviews coming up now.
We became mates. And then one day, something happened that just changed it.
There have been accusations that you groomed him. I'm just going to let you answer the question.
I did not. I did not.
Yeah.
There is no question I did a bad thing. Unprofessional. First time. I know I did that.
Yeah.
The last time we had a conversation was when I texted Holly and said, don't reply. This is after the statement last week. Don't reply. You're probably not allowed to. But I am deeply, deeply sorry that I lied to you.
Quite remarkable stuff. That's Phillip Schofield talking to The Sun. Let's talk to Nigel Pauley now, media commentator. Nigel, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
It's hard to believe where this story goes next, really, isn't it? I mean, I've said this morning, along with Piers Morgan, that, you know, you don't really... I mean, I don't really want to feel sorry for Phillip Schofield, but you kind of see that he's in a terribly bad place. But he's there because of his own act, because of his, you know, because of what he did. You know, the only reason he's there feeling very sorry for himself and asking whether people think he should die, which we'll get to in a minute, is entirely of his own making. He put himself there. He was the one who lied to everybody. He was the one who decided to resign. He was the one who now sits there saying how sorry he is. It's quite a bizarre world we now live in with this story, isn't it?
It is, and who knows what will happen next. I mean, 4 weeks ago, who would have thought that we would have Phillip Schofield talking about drinking Southern Comfort into the early hours, vaping on a television interview, and having a Princess Diana moment, which is what that was. That interview was almost from the Princess Diana 3 in Our Marriage copybook. Personally, I thought it was ill-advised. I mean, he's clearly struggling. We can't take away from the fact that he's a broken man.
Yeah.
But if I'd have been advising him, Mike, I think I might have been a little bit more, asked for a bit more contrition, a bit more apology. I think mentioning his wife, daughters, and the people he'd lied to would have been better. It seemed to me it was very self-pitying, as in, I'm angry. You know, yes, the guy's lost his career in 16 days, but it seemed to be about him rather than about the damage he'd inflicted on others. And then he talks about the damage to himself.
Yeah.
So I would have liked him saying, I can't believe the hurt I've given my wife, my kids, Holly, who I've known for 14 years. I've been a fool. No, quite a few people have had foolish relationships, Mike.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a crime.
No.
The crime is that it was covered up, we believe.
Right.
He obviously knows now he's being thrown under the bus by ITV. They've got this external inquiry. Goodness knows what that's going to uncover.
Yeah.
And the MPs are being grilling the ITV executives next week. They obviously have covered their backsides by having this inquiry and making it very clear they're looking into Phillip Schofield and the events surrounding his departure and his statement.
Yeah.
Spotlight heavily on him. But whether this was a PR... I've never seen anyone vape or smoke on a television interview.
No.
Since sort of Question Time about 30 years ago.
I was going to say, yeah, like sort of, you know, Parkinson or something like that from the 70s.
Or Dave Allen.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the other thing that I found extraordinary about all of this, because, you know, it's a bit like that scene, I mean, talking about, you know, you think you're old, wait till I give you a quote from Casablanca, you know, where they go into the casino and there's Inspector Renault saying, I'm shocked to find gambling going on here, and then somebody comes and hands him his winnings. You know, they're all walking around in ITV going, did you know anything? No, for absolutely nothing at all. I mean, they must think we're all idiots. You know, of course they all knew something was up. They just didn't care that something was up, and they didn't want to do anything because Phillip Schofield, for some reason, seemed to hold an incredible power over them all.
He did. He seemed to have, according to the ITV, he seemed to have the power of hiring, firing and promoting. I don't think that's true, and I think that's where the problem comes. You know, Al Capone and Richard Nixon found it wasn't the crime, it was the covering up that is always the problem. What it uncovers, I don't know. I mean, Schofield there, I say, I don't know whether he'd locked his PR advisors in a cupboard or these people who are doing damage limitation, but I would have thought that would have been not something they would advise. He said that he was approached by his lawyer. The Sun was approached by his lawyer, and the BBC, Amal Rajan, who just about does every interview going, doesn't he, at the moment?
Yeah.
He was approached. So
is this the same lawyer that he lied to, or has he got a new lawyer?
Well, this is... I don't know. I mean, not far be for me to speculate, Mike. I would suggest it might be a different lawyer. I don't know.
Right.
But it's interesting. I don't know how the lawyer would sit there and think, is this a good idea for my client? Is this good for his well-being? Because that looked to me to be a man on the edge. He's not eating. He says he's drinking Southern Comfort into the early hours in this Surrey hotel suite. And, he's vaping. I don't know if people ever knew that he smoked or vaped.
Yeah. I've no idea. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the Amal Rajan clip, because this is the one where he really kind of puts his heart out there for everybody to see.
I have brought myself down. I am done. I have to talk about television in the past tense, which breaks my heart. But it continues, and it is relentless, and it is day after day after day after day. And if you do that, if you don't think that that is going to have the most catastrophic effect on someone's mind, what do you want me to die? Because that's where I am. I have lost everything.
I mean, it really is quite extraordinary. He's getting a lot of criticism on Twitter at the moment as well, because at one point he says that this is how Caroline Flack felt, which is a particularly, disgraceful thing to say, I think.
Well, it's difficult because clearly he's struggling mentally, and no one would like to see him dying, and no one wants to see,
of course not.
The outcome. But again, it was about himself and how he's being wronged, and he may well think he's being wronged, but in his high-profile role, lying to his bosses, lying to his wife, lying to his close friend, allegedly, and we don't know what happened with this other lad. Yes, there is a certain self-pity there, and I think we should feel sympathy for him. But again, I just think the tone of this interview, if you're going to do an interview, then tone it differently. And I don't think this was advice. I don't think in the mental state he's in, he's actually strong enough to have given that interview, because I don't think that was very, very good viewing. I don't think it was comfortable viewing. And I think a lot of people will feel uncomfortable. I don't know whether they'll feel sympathy for him. I don't know whether people felt sympathy for Princess Diana when she gave her three in this marriage interview.
Oh, I think they did. I mean, I think they did.
28 million people watched it.
But the difference between Princess Diana and Phillip Schofield, though, is that she didn't put herself in the position that she was in, whereas he has been solely responsible for finding himself where he is. And then, I mean, the thing that I find extraordinary is that this morning is still going. This morning, apparently, they were actually talking about the interview. I didn't see it, obviously, because it's on at the same time as me, and this is a far better show. But, Holly Willoughby, supposedly, is going to be back on Monday, if you believe what's being written. I can't see that happening, can you?
Well, it's scheduled to happen. I mean, I think the problem ITV have is their share price is tanking, and if she suddenly doesn't go on the show on Monday, there's going to be another crisis, because obviously it's there. But the story is not going away, sadly, for Phil, because A, she's back Monday. Well, all the tabloids will be writing about her return, if she returns, and speculating what she says about it. But B, then they've got the MPs grilling ITV chiefs on Tuesday at the select committee of the culture select committee. And that's not going to be easy. So that's virtually the whole week now of this.
I mean, if you were a continuity man, you'd be going, it's a big week next week for ITV. Check us out on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. We've got MPs to be grilled by. We've got the return of Holly Willoughby. Will she say anything about Phil? Let's do it. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's better drama they've had on This Morning for a long time, which is why their ratings are so poor.
Yeah.
But the thing is also, luckily for this show, there is a timeout, and I think someone should have thrown a white towel in on This Morning, actually, if it was boxing. But there is a timeout in July when they had their light and fluffy summer This Morning, and they have their light second rate, the second string, sorry, not second rate, second string.
Freudian slip.
Freudian slip. Second string presenters. And then in September, I think Holly Willoughby might well be drafted off into some peak time ITV show, and I think her career is not going to be connected to This Morning, because I don't see what's in it for her anymore, other than a lot of grief.
Well, it's better for her, actually, to get out, isn't it? Better for her to go somewhere else.
I think so. I think it's better for ITV. ITV have invested a lot of money in her over the years. They've already lost, a couple of £1 million, Phillip Schofield. Holly Willoughby, the BBC wanted Holly Willoughby. Her husband, Dan Baldwin, does a lot of big BBC shows, and she has been courted by the big chiefs at the BBC. So I think ITV, but there were 4 shows that Phillip Schofield was going to do or doing that he's not doing anymore, and she does half of them. It could well be she does that with a new partnership or on her own, and I think the peak time show that Phil Schofield was going to do might well go to Holly Willoughby.
Indeed. Well, watch this space, as ever, I think Nigel is a watchword. Nigel Pauley there.